Is everyone ready?
Sir.
Okay. Ed Gonzalez, Harris County Sheriff, joined here by Chief Harden with the Houston Police Department. I want to run through the sequence of events as we know them. I want to emphasize that all of this remains preliminary as there were a lot of moving parts. A lot happened earlier this morning, and so I want to just be clear that it's still preliminary and we'll try to update as we go along. What we know is that approximately 10:15 a.m., an adult male went to a private daycare facility, removed his 2-year-old daughter. It's our understanding that he's the biological father. We haven't confirmed that. That's the initial information we received. From there, he proceeded to go to a retail store pretty close by, where he confronted the mother of the child and began making threats, asking for her phone, her passcode, with child in hand, and basically threatening to hurt the child if she did not turn those items over. She complied. She made an attempt to try to rescue her daughter from his stronghold, but she was unable to do so. At that point, we're told that the adult male struck her possibly a couple times to the face. And continued to flee the location from that retail store, again, still with child in tow, and fleeing the location with her phone and his phone as well. Our deputies were dispatched to that location. At that point, they quickly began getting information, trying to obviously now determine what happened. Now the situation has escalated, knowing that there's a child involved and possibly could be in harm's way. They were able to immediately, or pretty close to immediately start tracking where the phone might be. The suspect in the red Camaro was located near the intersection of Greens Road and North Freeway, approximately in the Greens Point area. Other agencies began hearing the radio traffic, and thanks to the quick action, again, of other partners, the Houston Police Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, all ascended into the area to try to assist. A pursuit occurred at that point from that location. It's several miles from here, several minutes from this location, so a pursuit did occur. It's my understanding it took place both along the North Freeway and then here along Studner Airline as well, as units were again trying to devise a strategy to detain the suspect that was in the vehicle with the child. At some point, we believe the mom was able to possibly FaceTime on and off with the suspect, just trying to get him to stop and just having some brief conversations, trying to resolve the situation. The male wasn't having it, so he continued northbound here on Studner Airline past 1960. At some point, as patrol vehicles were now in the area, he was able to swerve, jumped into St. Dunstan's Episcopal Church, and the car finally came to a stop. We're very grateful again that law enforcement was able to ascend pretty quickly. HPD SWAT was in the area. Their air support was also in the area. And then our units began arriving as well. By that point, there was a standoff. The male was in the vehicle. We later learned the child was still in the vehicle as well. One of our negotiators was able to establish verbal communication just briefly from near the vehicle, trying to ascertain the condition, especially of the child. And at that point, during the course of that investigation, they determined that the child was possibly in pretty bad shape. And so that's the information that was developed so quickly, working in tandem between HPD SWAT, our units that were here on site with our negotiators as well. They were able to launch a proactive operation using a distraction device with HPD, and then we were able to put an assault team as well to go and extract both the child and the adult male. The adult male was taken into custody without injury or without incident, and the child was removed, and immediately EMS began providing life-saving measures at that point. The child was in very serious, critical condition, so CPR was administered almost the entire time until Life Flight arrived and has since taken the toddler, who we're told is 2 years old, 2-year-old black female. And again, she's in very critical condition. I have not received an update since her arrival at the hospital, so our prayers above everything are with the child. Very horrific situation out here. A lot of things transpired, like I said, and so our biggest hope is that the child somehow pulls through. That's our biggest thing. Everybody was obviously impacted anytime that there's a child involved. So that's the preliminary information we have. We believe that the suspect is a black male suspect in his mid-20s. Again, he's been taken under custody. We're told he's a biological father. Obviously, there's a relationship between him and the adult female, but we don't know if they're legally married or a dating relationship. We haven't established that yet. That'll be part of our investigation. We'll be out here for several hours as, again, there were a lot of moving pieces to this involving a pursuit and the initial calls for service, and then ultimately when things came to an end. So that'll be part of our investigation. Want to thank again the Houston Police Department, DPS, Champions Fire Department, ESD 11 as well, the church where everything came to an end. And so there's a lot of folks to be grateful for, and we just hope the child pulls through. Briefly in Spanish, and then I'll answer questions. Brevemente, esta mañana, como las 10:15 de la mañana, un sujeto adulto fue a una guardería donde tienen niños. Se llevó una niña de 2 años de edad, una niña afroamericana de 2 años. Nos dicen que es su hija. Del tipo. El tipo fue entonces a una tienda donde trabaja la mamá de la niña, la comenzó a amenazar, le pidió su número de teléfono y el código para el teléfono, también le dio algunos golpes a la mujer, que es la mamá de la niña, también amenazó a la niña. Y después es cuando lo pudieron localizar, que estaba cerca de la calle de Greens Road y el 45 en el área de Greens Point. Agentes con el departamento de Houston, los oficiales estatales, los helicópteros y todo le comenzaron a dar búsqueda, comenzaron a perseguirlo con las patrullas y al fin llegó a terminar aquí en la calle Stubner Airline enfrente de una iglesia. Está en un red Camaro. Pudieron determinar los agentes aquí de que la niña estaba herida, no sabían qué grave, y decidieron entonces hacer una ofensiva contra el carro para tratar de rescatar a la niña. Lo pudieron arrestar al individuo, no tenía nada de heridas y la niña sí estaba muy grave. No sabemos qué extensos son sus heridas, pero sí son graves. No tenía pulso al principio, entonces vamos a hacer todo lo posible. Los doctores que lo están tratando, esperamos que la puedan rescatar y salvar su vida, esa pobre Ángel. Entonces es lo que estamos aquí. Vamos a estar aquí por varias horas con una investigación extensiva en este momento. And I just want to reference again that our negotiator was able to establish once they were there and when they were establishing communications with him to try to resolve this as peacefully as possible, that the child was injured in somehow, according to the suspect who conveyed that to them and wasn't being responsive at that point. And so that's when we had to take further action at that point. Any questions? The initial information that we received again from the suspect was apparently that the child had, I'm paraphrasing here, had jumped around the car, during everything that had transpired, possibly struck her head and had bounced around. So I'm assuming probably didn't have a seatbelt or anything, and basically said she wasn't being responsive. So that's the information that we determined, we believe, from the suspect himself.
Did all of this come to a final head inside the vehicle, inside the suspect?
Yes.
He physically didn't hurt her.
We don't know. That'll be part of, obviously, the main thing right now is trying to preserve life, and then we'll determine the seriousness of the injuries. There did appear to be some trauma to the body, but we don't know, again, if it was from bouncing around or what happened. But again, all those were, reckless decisions by the suspect in putting that precious child in a dangerous situation like that and taking her from the daycare center. He's the one that prompted everything that happened here today.
Were there any weapons found? What kind of retail?
It's one of, he went to her workplace, the store where she works at. I don't have that store with me. I believe it was a Walmart store where she worked, where he approached her, went to her job. I believe she had just recently dropped off the child, or someone had dropped off the child at the daycare, and it was soon after, sometime after 10:15 more or less, was when he came to her place of work and confronted her there.
So he doesn't have legal custody in any way?
I don't know the connection at this point, other than we're told he's a biological father, but we don't know if they're going through, if they were estranged or there was some type of divorce or separation. We don't know how that went down, or what the dynamics were involving the family.
Sheriff, family said incident last week where he took the child and law enforcement was called and both deputies and HPD responded to that, and they said that because he was the father, there was nothing they could do. Can you confirm, do you have any information on what had happened last week and why was he just let go even though he may have taken the child?
I cannot confirm. That's the first time I hear that point. That'll be an extensive investigation from here to kind of determine what happened before. It's not uncommon sometimes, especially when there's estranged couples or divorces going on, that law enforcement gets called out. But, again, sometimes it falls into being a civil or family matter. It just depends the nature of the information we received, and there's possible threats to the child. Sometimes we do not get involved, but we receive calls for service to locations regarding family disputes and stuff. And so a lot of it just depends if the child was in any danger. We don't know what information was conveyed, but that's the first I hear about that. We'll try to track that down and get more information about that previous incident.
Daycare location?
On West FM 1960. I don't have the exact address. I don't have the name. We'll get it. Yeah.
Was there a weapon found? Or?
We haven't gone into the vehicle any further. We're containing the scene so that our crime scene investigators can process it more fully. So at this point, I don't know. I have not been in the vehicle, and nothing was conveyed to me. Everybody's just securing the scene at this point. I don't know if he was on the list of authorized persons. We're told he's the biological father. We haven't been told if there was a call for service at that point. From the daycare center, we received a call. It's my understanding from the her workplace minutes after, when he arrived there and assaulted her and showed up with the child. But I'm not sure anything further as far as who was on the list to pick up or anything like that.
Does the suspect have any kind of family assault charges pending on him? Any kind of record?
I don't know if his record or any again past history involving him or anything. I believe he's a black male, mid-20s, but I don't have the information in terms of any record or anything. That'll be part of our investigation to see how we got to this point.
I guess how horrible is it that someone just uses their child to manipulate someone? It happens, I feel like, a lot. We see a lot of domestic violence incidents kind of like this.
I mean, just awful situation as a father, as just a human being, for anyone to use a child, a precious, defenseless child of 2 years old. It just broke my heart to see her, injured in that condition. It just, I can't just fathom anybody using a child, and apparently when he confronted the adult, I guess the mother, was that he was already threatening to possibly hurt the child or was going to hurt the child as well if his demands were met. So again, just horrific chain of events and circumstances. Our main thing right now is to just hopefully the child can pull through.
What did he want? What were his demands?
I don't know what was going on or what prompted him to do what he did today. I'm assuming, being that there's a confrontation with the mother of a child, there may be some type of stemming, as I mentioned earlier in my post, from family violence to some extent, and in this case possibly using the child for leverage. So we don't know what the dynamics were, what was happening in the relationship. We don't know exactly what his needs or wants were at this point. Chief, did you want to add anything from?
No, I just want to thank
Chief Harden.
I just want to thank Harris County for their partnership. As the sheriff mentioned, we partner in many different ways. Both calls for service patrol, we serve on several task forces together, and our tactical teams are fortunate enough to have a very close relationship and spend a lot of time training together, both for large events and for scenes like this. And it's sad that scenes like this occur and they require tactical action at times, but it is a benefit to have such a great partnership with them and our partners at DPS to do our best to bring scenes like this to as peaceful a conclusion as we can. So I just want to thank the Sheriff's Department and DPS for their assistance and in our partnership today.
Thank you, Chief.
What kind of charges is this guy going to face?
I don't know. We haven't even gotten to that point. We're still in the early stages. The main thing was just to make sure everything concluded, and obviously there's been a lot of disruption out here in the neighborhood, and we'll try to kind of piece everything together. I'm sure there's a number of different charges that are applicable. Again, a lot of it will just stem to the extent of the injuries to the child and endangering the child. Which you're looking already at a possible at a felony charge at minimum there, and the other stuff that happened, the assault of the mother, and again, we don't know what his was he authorized to take the child? Is there a court order? There's a lot of different things that we'll have to unpack with the district attorney's office that ultimately will make that decision.
Transported to the hospital or to jail?
The suspect will be transported, I believe, to jail. I was not told of any injuries. He did not sustain any injuries. He was arrested without incident. And so I also wanted to thank Lifelight as well. It's a tremendous service that we take for granted sometimes here in our community. But they make so many different scenes with the number of serious crashes and just overall, violence that occurs in a region this big and busy. And so, they were here as well. La niña no sabemos qué extensas son las heridas de la niña, solamente sabemos que ella estaba muy grave, una niña de 2 años, entonces la llevaron por helicóptero al hospital y esperamos que la puedan hacer un milagro y que la puedan salvar, sobre todo es la meta más importante en estos momentos. No sabemos, no hemos podido revisar el carro en detalle porque va a ser parte de nuestra investigación. Tenemos que mantener el cuidado de todo y apenas están llegando los investigadores para investigar.
Do we know why he wanted her phone? Was he jealous? Was he demanding?
I do not know. I don't want to speculate for him, but again, just looking at him taking the child to then approaching her with child in hand, no one should have to be placed in that kind of fear or threat at work or anywhere. And again, just speaks to the awful scourge of domestic violence in whatever level, and ultimately we have, a child here that's literally fighting for her life, that was CPR in progress when she was taken, and that's a real shame that we continue to see that. And as you stated, kids are in the middle of this. We got to do better.
Sheriff, any advice on how to handle a situation like that?
Situation in what part of it?
Well, just in a domestic violence situation,
Yeah.
and someone shows up and they have a child and it gets heated. How should you handle something?
Yeah, well, obviously the main thing at that point is to try to de-escalate as best you can. She tried to comply with his demands. But he still struck her and punched her, is what I'm told. And so, there's a lot of things that are happening at that point. And so, it's hard to speculate exactly or kind of, think of what tactics to use, if you will. At the main thing, we always say, call authorities as soon as possible. Let us hopefully get involved. And before it ever gets there, obviously, is to seek help as best you can in terms of there's counseling, Houston Area Women's Center, the Bridge, Family Time. There's so many resources that we do have. And it's very difficult, and these situations tend to escalate over time. And so you just got to be very careful because you never know when things are going to, they're powder kegs, literally, they're powder kegs. And we saw here today where, again, just a nice morning, 10 in the morning. It's not at nighttime or inside someone's house, going to a daycare, going to a place of work. These things could happen at any point. And, you think, hopefully, that no one would ever hurt their own child. But, at least this day and age, anything's possible.
So he pretty much walked into Walmart, punched her?
We confronted her about the phone, and then at some point in that interaction, we're told that he struck her, and then ended up fleeing with her phone, and then the child still in hand.
You're not sure if that his vehicle or is that
I'm not sure if he's the owner of the vehicle. It's a red Camaro. I don't know his connection to the vehicle or not. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.